Okay, let me begin by saying, number one, it is an honor. It's a pleasure to be here today. I often say anytime I get the opportunity to speak to a group of students, I'm not only excited, but I'm honored and grateful for that opportunity. I never thought that I would be a national speaker, empowering, inspiring, and motivating people. So I'm thankful to be here today. And the first reason I'm thankful to be here today is because I get an opportunity to be part of your journey for success. Whether you know it or not yet, you were created, you were born to do something great. And I'm just honored to be part of that process with you. Second reason why I'm honored to be here today is because I really do believe with all my heart that the information you're going to get by the time you walk out of here today, if you apply it, can set you up not only for personal success, but career success and leadership success in the 21st century. And the third reason why I'm excited to be here today is because I have the opportunity to work with some amazing people that have put this whole event together. So can we give them and the entire Interculture Center a big round of applause? Awesome. Now, as we get ready to get into this presentation, there's two more things I want to go through. The first thing I want to tell you is oftentimes when a speaker gets up to talk, they always say, turn your phones off. I actually want you to have your phones on. So if you have a cell phone, if you have an Android, if you have an iPad, whatever the case may be, I want you to have your phones on because throughout the presentation, if I say something that you feel inspires you, if I say something that motivates you, if I say something that you're like, you know what, I know someone that needs to hear that right now, I want to challenge you not only to do a status update on Facebook, or maybe you can do it on Twitter. Also, if you want to become my friend on Twitter, I'm at VisionXY, and Facebook, Joshua Fredenberg /New York. The seventh person to become my friend today is going to get a free copy of my CDs at the end of the session, but it has to be the seventh person. So I have two here today. I have one on relationships, and I have one on leadership. So if you're dealing with some relationship issues, got to get the CD. But that's another story. So give yourself a round of applause one more time. Round of applause one more time, I guess. Let's get into it, shall we? Approximately 3 years ago, I was at a motivational speaking event, and I was listening to an international speaker by the name of Noel Jones. And he was a phenomenal speaker, and he was very inspiring, and he was empowering us, and he was motivating us, and he was inspiring us. And in the middle of his presentation, he said something really, really powerful that caught me off guard. I sat there because it was so powerful when he said these words. He said, every time a child is born, a solution is brought into the world. In essence, he said every time a baby, a child is brought into the world, not only does it bring happiness, not only does it bring joy, not only does it bring peace, not only does it bring love, but he said this baby, this child, this innocent creature brings vision, brings dreams, brings purpose, brings destiny, brings solutions to problems in the world. I said, wow. The unfortunate thing is there was another motivational speaker, a speaker by the name of Miles Monroe, and he said, and I quote, he said, the most wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery. I said, the cemetery? He said, yes, the cemetery. I'm having my conversation, I don't know him, but he said the cemetery. And the reason he said the cemetery is the most wealthiest place in the world is because he said in the cemetery, you have thousands, you have millions of people that have passed away but never accomplished their destiny. He said in the grave today, you have multi-million-dollar ideas. He said in the grave today, you have visions, you have solutions, you have answers to diseases, you have cures to problems in the world. He said in the grave today, you have people that have passed away and never accomplished their destiny because they never took the time to look within and discover the greatness. Although they went to happy hour, they played video games, they went to the basketball games, they celebrated Valentine's Day, they went to school, they had families, they had kids, they drove cars, they were in careers they really do not like, and they had best friends, they were hurt, and they were happy, and there was a highs, and there was a lows, and they traveled throughout the world and traveled throughout the country, but yet in their entire life, they never did what sat there since they were born. How amazing is that? That you can go through life and purpose and destiny and vision and dreams can be on the inside of you, but yet you never do it because you never took the time to really look within yourself and discover who you are. Yet you never took the time to say, you know what, my mother says this, my father says this, my friends say this, but let me discover who I am for myself. So they passed away. And the unfortunate thing about this, when this happens in a person's life, is number one, not only does it affect you from reaching your fullest potential, Because I really do believe with all my heart, when you're moving in your gift, when you're moving in your talent, when you're moving in what you're destined to do, there is success that follows that. We're going to talk about that later. But what's more impactful is if you don't do what you're supposed to do, there are people that will be affected. In essence, if you don't reach your destiny, someone's going to be affected. If you don't reach your legacy, someone's going to be affected. If you don't discover or pursue that vision that's been on the inside of you for maybe 2 or 3 plus years, someone's going to be affected. You say, Joshua, how do you know this? Well, if Dr. King never pursued his dream, we don't celebrate the dream this past August. If Clara Barton never pursues and creates the American Red Cross, people are not being impacted by the American Red Cross today. Susan B. Anthony never pursues the rights for women. Possibly women don't have the rights that they have today. If W. Du Bois never becomes part of the group that created the NAACP, then people are not benefiting from the work that generations and generations have done in the NAACP. And if Steve Jobs never pursued Apple computers, you're not on your iPhone right now, your iPad, or any of the wonderful devices that Apple has created for us if he didn't pursue his dream. You're saying, Joshua, what are you saying? What I'm saying is, just like the leaders of the past, we're the same of the future. There are legacies, there are visions, there are dreams. There is a purpose on the inside of you that has been created in order to make an impact in other people's lives. But here goes the catch. The catch is you can't create the legacy until you first discover who you are. The catch is you can't create the legacy until you first discover what your vision is. The catch is you can't create the legacy until you first discover what your purpose is. The catch is you can't just create the legacy until you first have the courageous faith to step out on what you've discovered on the inside. And so my goal is really simple. I don't have a lot of time, but I have a little time. And over these next 40 minutes, someone say 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Say 40 minutes. 40 minutes. Over the next 40 minutes, what I'm about to do is I'm getting ready to give you a series of 4 questions that I believe each of us must ask ourselves if we're going to discover the leader from within and create a legacy for tomorrow. Say, discover the leader from within and create a legacy for tomorrow. If you're going to do that, I'm going to give you 4 questions today, and I'm going to break it down in such a way that by the time you walk out of here, not only are you going to have some information, but you're going to know what you must do in order to make this information a reality in your life. If you agree, say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you agree, say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If you agree, say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Give yourselves a round of applause as I put a pause on the music. Man, I want to keep the music playing because I just feel the music today. I like the music. I'm going to play it throughout. Why not? Let's go. I'm feeling it today. This happens to me sometimes. It's just so good. I just like to go. Y'all don't mind, do you? So it's going to keep flowing. For a whole hour, we're going to hear this just going. Y'all still with me? Yes. I'm just feeling the music today. First question we got to ask ourselves. Say question number 1. First question we got to ask ourselves, if we're going to discover the leader from within and create a legacy for tomorrow, the first question we got to ask ourselves is, number 1, do you have self-awareness? Say self-awareness. The first question we got to ask ourselves is, do you know who you are? In essence, do you know your gift? Do you know your strengths? Do you know your passion? Do you know your values? Do you know your personality? Do you know your purpose? Do you have an idea of who you are? The first question we've got to ask ourselves, and the reason we have to ask ourselves this question is because there was a study at Harvard University, there was a study at Stanford University, and they asked these really intelligent people, and this is what they asked them. They said, what is the most important aspect of leadership to develop in emerging leaders? And these intelligent men got together, and they said the most important quality to develop in emerging leaders is self-awareness. Someone say self-awareness. And they said self-awareness because they understood that a person that knows who they are will not only become more successful than someone that does not know who they are, but a person that knows who they are will become a more effective leader as well and will be more likely to leave a legacy than someone who does not. When I know who I am, I set myself up for success. When I know who I am, I set myself up for effective leadership. When I know who I am, I'm more likely to leave a legacy than someone that does not know who they are. And you say, Joshua, why is this the case? First reason it's the case is because in order to establish a legacy, you must first know who you are. Because a legacy is birthed out of knowing who you are. You discover the legacy from within, and then you create it into this material realm. It starts from within. But if I don't know who I am, I can't create the legacy. Second reason why it's important is because in order to create a legacy, you must first have a vision. Someone say vision. We'll get there a little later, but you must have a picture of what the legacy is. But in order to discover your vision or your purpose, you got to first know who you are. Because in knowing who you are, you'll discover your vision and your purpose in life. But in order to do that, I must first know who I am. Third reason why it's important to know who you are is because in order to create a legacy, you got to surround yourself with the right people. Why do I have to surround myself with the right people? Because the people you surround yourself with are going to be the ones that carry out the legacy that you establish while you're there. Because when we deal with legacy, we're not just dealing with the present, we're dealing with the future. And in order for the legacy to go on past the future, I can't be there, but someone has to be there. But in order for someone to carry out the same legacy that I have created, not only do I got to select good people, but I got to know who to select and who would be the right fit for what I'm trying to do. But in order to do that, I got to first know who I am. Someone say, oh, yeah. Third reason why it's important, fourth reason why it's important, is because when you know who you are, you make better decisions. See, when I know who I am, I make better decisions. When I know who I am, I know what not to do, and I know what to do. But if I don't know who I am, I start doing things that I shouldn't be doing, that I wouldn't be doing if I knew who I am. A lot of people experience frustration, irritation, challenges, failure, and rejection sometimes because they're doing the wrong thing. I'll go on and suggest this. Someone in this room is probably in a class or a major right now that they wish they could get out of right this moment because they never selected a major, their parents gave them the major. And until you get out of that major, you'll never have joy. Because there's something on the inside of us that when we're not doing what we're so supposed to be doing, we get more irritated and irritated and irritated till we get to a point where we finally get out of what we're irritated in and we start doing what we love. But you can't do that unless you first know who you are. Someone say, oh, yeah. And this is why Betty Till says, and I quote, she says, your innate strengths guide you toward success. She says, your innate strengths guide you toward success. Watch what she's saying. She's saying when you know your inner strength, when you know the things on the inside, she says it guides you toward success. Man, I'm getting excited today. She understands that everything you need to succeed is on the inside of you. But until you discover what's on the inside of you, you may continue to fail. You may continue to mess up. You may continue to deal with rejection because you're not doing what you're supposed to do. Wow. And you say, Joshua, it's great theory, but I got news for you. I got a reality. I tell people all the time, I don't just talk the theory. I got the reality. Someone say reality. I got it in my life. Here goes a picture of me. As you guys know, I'm a national speaker. This is about 2 years ago. I was in New York City. But what people don't understand is about when I was 19 years of age, I used to want to be a professional basketball player. And by the way, I do have skills and could probably beat everyone in the room, just saying. Okay, but I want to be a national basketball player. And so I had this dream and I had this vision. And I go to this university in Long Beach, California, and I missed the team by one player. So in a moment of 24 hours, my dream is destroyed. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me? I've worked hard, I've practiced, I've always dreamed about being a basketball player. Well, during this same time, I had a communications class. It was called interpersonal communication. And you talked about how to communicate with people, how to build relationships with people. The lady told us on the first day, if you have a long-distance relationship, cut it off, it's not going to work. Sorry. That's what she told us. And so in this class, we had to give a presentation. And so I give my first presentation, and I never knew that I had photographic memory. So I never had to use notes. I would just talk. And I got an A plus on the test. And so when I got an A+, I said, wait a minute. I found something I'm good at. And you know, if I do good in the class, because I want to get A's, I want to get good grades, I'm going to take another communication class. So I took a debate and argumentation class. In this debate and argumentation class, you had a debate and you had to argue. And so I would show out and show off because I was 7-0 and I never lost. And at that point, I realized I had a passion to speak and I loved it. Maybe because I was good at it. And so I discovered my gift and I discovered my passion. And then because I love to speak so much, we had an organization on campus. They asked me to give a presentation. So I'm in this group and I give this presentation. And literally 50% of my audience begins to cry in tears. I'm 20 years old. I ain't got no mechanics. I'm just talking. But 50% start crying. And it was at that point that I realized I want to be a motivational speaker. Because, watch this, I discovered my gift. I found my passion. It's something I would do for free. And all that connected enabled me to make an impact in the world. I just found my calling. I just found my purpose. I just found my destiny. Here goes the catch. But I did not know how to become a motivational speaker. Why? Because there was no class. There was no major. How many people go to college? I want to be a motivational speaker. I mean, what do? I mean, there's no examples. I just want to be a motivational speaker. That's what I wanted to do. But because I did what I was supposed to do and what I was purposed to do, I dealt with failure. I dealt with rejection. I dealt with challenges. But after 8+ years, I've traveled over 45 different states. I'm living full time, impacting lives, inspiring people everywhere because I've discovered who I am. But that's not the kicker. Someone said, that's not the kicker. The kicker is I'm leaving my legacy every day. How? Because what I'm doing is I'm empowering people, I'm inspiring people with words of wisdom that transform their lives and enable them to leave their legacy. I'm hearing stories of people saying, you know what, your words changed my life. I literally have changed my course of action based on what you have said. Had a young girl when I was in Kentucky this year, and I was giving a presentation on relationship. The girl came down bawling in tears, saying, it seemed like I can't never have a good relationship. She heard my presentation. About 2 weeks later, she's now in a relationship. Best thing she's ever had. She's establishing her legacy. I've had experiences, again, when you're doing what you're supposed to do, I've had people call me out the blue that I don't even know, want to get connected with me and want to help me to do what I'm supposed to do. It gets so good. It gets so good when you start living in your legacy and you start doing what you're supposed to do that in reality, opportunities start looking for you. Tell people this all the time. Watch this. It's a power moment. Opportunities are always around you. The problem is most people do not know who they are. Therefore, they miss the opportunities that are in front of them every single day. I'll say it again. Opportunities are around us right now. Problem is, most people miss them because they don't know who they are. And so today, once you start discovering who you are, once you start discovering your gifts, once you start discovering your values, once you start discovering your passion, you'll find that opportunities will just show up. Looking for you right now. I mean, literally, can I tell you this? There's opportunities looking for you right this moment that you don't even see because you haven't discovered something about your life. Whoa, man. You may think that your legacy starts when you graduate, but actually your legacy can begin today. But the only way it's going to begin today is you first got to discover who you are. Someone say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone say, oh, yeah. Y'all like the music? Y'all like the music? Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure. Sometimes I play it so no. Say number two. Second question you got to ask yourself is, do you have a vision bigger than yourself? All right, Joshua. We dealt with the self-awareness. The next thing you got to ask yourself is, do I have a vision bigger than myself? Watch this. Here was my definition. A vision is a clear, concise, captivating picture image of your future. When I deal with vision, my definition, it's clear, it's concise, it's captivating, it motivates me, it drives me, it inspires me, it motivates me every morning. And it's a picture, it's an ultimate goal, it's an image that I see for my future. So when I ask you the question, do you have a vision bigger than yourself? What I am asking you is this: do you have an image, a picture that is clear, concise, captivating, that is so big that it goes beyond your present existence here on the earth? Now we're in some deep stuff. Do you have a clear, concise, captivating picture, image, or goal of your future that goes beyond your lifetime in the present state? This is what legacy is. Why is this important, Josh? Because when I have a vision like this, I have purpose. When I have a vision like this, I have passion. When I have a vision like this, I'm motivated. When I have a vision like this, I have hope in a dark situation. When I have a vision like this, I have guidance. When I have a vision like this, I have excitement in the morning. But most importantly, when you think about the Mandelas, when you think about the Steve Jobs, when you think about the Rosa Parks, when you think about the Dr. Kings, when you think about the founding fathers, you will find the reason that they were able to impact generations to follow was because they probably had a vision that was bigger than them. This is why Woodrow Wilson says, and I quote, he says, no man that does not ever, or woman that does not ever see visions will ever realize any high hope or undertake any high enterprise. He says this. He says, if you don't have a vision, you're never going to do something big. If you don't have a vision, you're never going to reach your fullest potential. Because reaching your fullest potential, making history, doing something amazing, progressing, moving forward, all begins with a vision of what that looks like. I tell people this all the time. You can't do the impossible until you first have a vision of yourself overcoming the impossible. The president of the United States of America couldn't become the first African-American president ever until he first had a vision that he could overcome the impossible. Man, I'm feeling today. The Wright brothers could not create an airplane until they could first overcome and see past the impossible that was standing between them and creating the airplane. Wow, I'm feeling inspired today. Edison could not create the light bulbs until he first had a vision of overcoming the impossible. And so if I'm going to leave legacy, I got to have a vision so big that what I create is still going to impact people past my lifetime. That's where legacy begins. This is where it all starts. It starts, man, I'm feeling inspired now. It starts when a man or a woman is sitting in a motivational speaking session one day and they get a vision that is bigger than themselves. It gets so big that even when they're not there, it's still impacting lives. It gets so big that even when they're not involved, it's impacting lives. But again, it begins with vision. Someone say vision. It begins with a vision bigger than themselves. Well, a great example of this is a guy by the name of Randy Pausch. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with this man. He was a professor at Carnegie Mellon University in Pennsylvania. And he was selected to give what they call the last lecture. The last lecture was a presentation that a professor would give at the end of the year. It was if you were a professor and you were going to die, what would be your last words to say? The unique thing about this story is about a month before he gave this last lecture, he got diagnosed with cancer. And they said you only have a certain amount of time before you're going to pass away. So what seemed hypothetical actually became a reality for him because he was really giving his last words before he was going to die. And so he was preparing for his presentation. And in preparing for his presentation, there were a series of things he wanted to do. Number one, he wanted to inspire people. Number two, he wanted to impact people. Number three, he wanted to share his word of wisdom that he believed can enable people to live a good life. But the most powerful part of his presentation, as you'll find out, is he wanted to create something that his daughters would be able to remember him by. He wanted to create something that when he passed away and his daughters went on to high school and went on to college, they could plug in this video and they could listen to the words of wisdom from their father. I actually thought about that today because I'm a father, and I think, you know what? Wouldn't it be a powerful thing if I started to write a journal, words of wisdom for my great-grandchildren? So that although I may never meet, well, I got to watch my words, my great-great-great-grandchildren, make sure I watch my words, they would have something to remember me by. Maybe you can start your legacy today. Maybe you can start writing your journey in college so that when your kids go to college, they'll have something to read and remember, and they can pass it from one generation to the next generation. This was his legacy. He wanted to create something that was going to inspire his kids before he died. And so he gets up and he gives this presentation, and the presentation is moving. The presentation is impactful. The presentation is inspiring. And it's so powerful that it begins to spread across YouTube. It begins to spread across the United States of America. He gets featured on Time. And he also gets featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And so he's on Oprah, and you know how many viewers she has. Everybody and their mama watches Oprah at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the West Coast. I don't know what it is out here, but, you know, Oprah's TV, you know. And she gets on Oprah, you got a book, go on Oprah Winfrey, you'll become a bestseller. It's Oprah. He gets on Oprah, and he gives this presentation. And people are in more millions, and millions of people are being impacted by his life. And then, moments later, he passes away. The good thing is, he created a legacy. So today, people are still telling his story. People are still talking about what he did. People are still talking about his inspiration. People are still talking about his message. That's his legacy. And why was he able to create a legacy? Because when he was giving this last lecture, he had a vision not only for the present, but for generations to follow. I'll show you the video later because I'm in the mode right now, so we'll check it out later and YouTube it. Someone say YouTube it because I'm in the flow and I got you where I want you and I got to stay in it. Someone say YouTube it. I plan to show you the video, but we're in a mode right now, and I just feel my audience, so just say YouTube it. Yeah, so you can YouTube it. But in essence, what happens is he creates a legacy that is impacting people today because he had a vision not only for the present, but he had a vision for future generations. And so, if I'm going to leave a legacy in the 21st century, wow, man. If I'm going to leave a legacy, not only must I know who I am, but now I must create a vision that is bigger than me. So as we're at the halfway point, there's two questions you want to ask yourself today because we're dealing with creating a legacy for tomorrow. And the first question is, number one, do I know who I am? Investigate. Someone say investigate. Second thing I'd ask myself the question is, do I have a vision that is bigger than me? Is there something that I am establishing today that is going to impact more people when I leave? Now, again, I want to say this real quick as I go on to the next one. Just because you're in college does not mean you can't establish a legacy today. You say, Joshua, how do you know that? I know that because our campuses are full of fraternities and sororities. And a lot of these were created in the early 1900s. But they were created by men and women that not only had a vision for the present, but had a vision for the future. They created legacy. Say legacy. I got a personal story. When I was in college, I started our first television program on campus. Today, that television program is still going on because I created a vision not only for the present, but for the future. Someone say legacy. So again, understand, the legacy does not have to begin once you graduate. The legacy does not have to begin when you're 60 and 70 years old. The legacy does not have to begin when you're 100. The reality is your legacy can begin today, but for it to begin today, you got to, number one, know who you are, and you got to start thinking, what can I create today that will benefit people that come after me? Someone say, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Third thing we got to ask ourselves. Third question. Are you leading with purpose? Someone say purpose. Third question is, are you leading with purpose? Now, when we deal with purpose, This can become really intriguing because there's a lot of different things that go around this word. But when I deal with are you leading, or I like to say, are you living with purpose, my question is, do you have a set of passionate reasons why? Say why. Why you're doing what you're doing. The purpose behind the legacy is the reason why you're doing what you're doing. Why do you want to impact kids in the inner city? Why do you want to start a nonprofit organization? Why do you want to have an amazing family? Why do you want to get straight A's? Why do you want to go into the entertainment industry? Why do you want to create movies? Why? This is the question that ignites the purpose. So we're dealing with are you leading with purpose? The question I'm asking you is, do you have a set of reasons why you're doing what you're doing? Now again, Joshua, why is this important? Well, the first reason why it's important is because when I'm leading with purpose, say purpose, I have more energy, I have more passion. As a matter of fact, I will perform better when I have a reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. But most importantly, when you are leading with purpose, you will become more effective at leading, inspiring, impacting, and carrying out your legacy because people are inspired by the why. Say the why. People become inspired. People become passionate. People become motivated to carry out the legacy that you have created when you are able to give them the why. This is why Simon Sinek says, and I quote, he says, when people are emotionally invested, they will contribute to your cause or your organization. In essence, when you can get to the emotion of the person, when you can get to the passion of the person, when you can get into the inner being of the person, people will give you more than they would give you, sometimes even what they would give you if they were getting paid for the job. The why, the why enables you to get more out of people than what people would give you if they were getting paid for it. You say, how can you say that? Because I can tell you, I know some people that give more to organizations where they don't get paid than to organizations where they do get paid. You say, how you know? If someone's a part of an organization you're passionate about today, you're working high time on that job, but you're on the 9-to-5 job trying to figure out, when am I going to get off work? Because you ain't passionate about the 9-to-5, but you're passionate about what you want to do for free. And so if I'm going to inspire people to follow me and watch this, to carry out my legacy when I'm not there no more, if they see me bored, they ain't going to want to be a part of it. Oh, you're bored, whack, lazy. I'm cool. Cool. Man, they're so excited. They're having fun over there. What's going on? Let me just check it out. You see that excitement. You see that passion. You see that energy, it starts to do something. People start to get involved when they see that passion, that purpose. And then when you start to tell them the reason why I'm doing this because we're impacting lives. The reason why I'm doing this because we're making a difference. The reason why I'm doing this because I want to make the world a better place. The reason why we're doing this because of A plus B plus C plus D plus E. People are like, man, I got to get on board. I got to hop on board. But if you tell them you're going to have to sit in a corner and you make $10 an hour, but you ain't doing nothing, just sit in a corner and do what you hate to do, I'm good. Good. But when I give you the why, I have the purpose, I perform better. I do better. I have more energy. But more importantly, I'm more effective at inspiring other people. And you say, Joshua, do you have a story with this? Yep. My story is Dr. King. I love to use Dr. King because not only does Simon Sinek use Dr. King, but I think he fits it so well. Now, when most people think about Dr. King, they think about the speech, I have a dream. But I was thinking about this actually this week. And a lot of people really don't talk about the nonviolent movement. We talk so much about the dream. We talk so much about civil rights, but we rarely talk about the nonviolent movement. And to me, that's a powerful piece of Dr. King. Because what he was saying was this. He was telling people that are being shot at, hit in the mouth, churches are being bombed, spit at. He's telling them, don't do nothing. They're hitting me, don't do nothing. They're cussing at me, don't do nothing. They're water hosing me, don't do nothing. Yo, they try to kill my kids, don't do nothing. Now, you can be pristine, and you can be in here today and say, I'm a college student, and I'm classy, and I'm professional. But probably 95% of you in here, if someone came to you and hit you in the mouth, you're going to do something to retaliate. And if you're not going to do nothing there, if someone hits your mom or your dad, you're going to retaliate just because. And Dr. King has to tell people that are fed up, that are irritated, and that are mad, and say, don't do nothing. You know, people go to church and they have the whole quote, Jesus said, if they hit you, turn the other cheek. That's a tough one for a church person, because some folks is like, they pull a gun, I'm going to pull a gun right back. And, you know, so it's kind of tough for people. You know, we're going to disregard that scripture, because they come to me, I'm coming back. I'm just letting you know. I may go back to what I used to be before I got saved. I'm just saying, it's how some people start to act. But what they don't understand is there was a principle in what he was saying. He was showing us that nonviolence is actually more powerful than retaliation. And he understood this concept. And this is why he was able to motivate people, because he was able to motivate people, watch this, with these kind of concepts. He was able to tell people, ladies and gentlemen, understand that love will always overcome evil. They're disrespecting me. They're getting on my nerve. But love overcomes evil. And love is a choice. It's not a feeling. I don't always feel like loving. I choose to love. How do I choose to love? I choose to forgive. I choose to be patient. I choose to sacrifice. I choose to be long-suffering. I choose to treat people good regardless of how they treat me. He convinced them that love will always overcome evil. He was able to convince them that if you're peaceful, it will lead to friendships. Wait, these are my enemies. No, if you're peaceful, it will lead to friendship. Again, this messes with our minds. No way this works. He understood it. He understood that when you do the right thing and when you do things justly, there's a universal God that will always side with the just. Okay, I've never said this before. Here goes your bonus track. If you look throughout history, I'm in something there. I got to get out of here, but I'm here. I'm going to stay here. If you look throughout history, every culture in the world that has ever been oppressed has always risen to the top to overthrow the oppressor. I'm going to let that sink in. Y'all go research that right there. I can start giving. Every oppressor that has oppressed the people, they may have did some horrible things, but at some point, there was a generation that rose to overcome the oppressor, because we have a universal system that always sides with justice. I could go into that today. I'm going to stay out of it today. Someone say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. What he was able to do is he was able to motivate people because he had a reason why they were doing what they were doing. He said there is a universal principle in place that when we do the right thing, it's going to work in our favor. There is a universal principle in place that when I love, it's going to change the situation. There is a universal principle in place that when I give good things to people, that good is going to come back to me. There is a universal principle in place that if I think positive and speak positive, at some point, it's going to happen. Now, I taught this in college, but it's just a universal law. It's just like gravity. If you jump off the building, you're going to. It's called the law of gravity. There are universal laws in the world. And Dr. King understood these universal laws. And this is why I think one of the, I'm getting on a tangent, I got to get back to my message. This is why I say one of the downfalls on our leadership on college campuses today is you guys are not taught enough about spiritual laws of leadership. I got to get out of here. There's certain spiritual laws that activate certain things in your life. And once you understand them, you'll start seeing stuff happen in your life that happened because you understand the laws of the universe. Don't have time to get into that. Get back to purpose, but that was just my bonus for all you. Get back to where I was going. He was leading with purpose. So if I'm going to leave my legacy, if I'm going to make an impact in the world, then number one, I got to know who I am. Number two, I got to have a vision bigger than myself. But now I got to have a set of positive reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, because the purpose behind the vision is going to give me the power, the passion, and the energy that's going to continue to push me and push me and push me and push me when I'm ready to give up. I can't see. I'm inspired now. Here we go. One more bonus track. Say bonus track. Maybe someone needs to hear this today. When you're at the point where you're ready to give up, normally it's a sign that something great is on the way. When you're at the point where you're ready to give up, normally it's a sign that something great is on the way. Example, diamond ring. In order for the diamond ring to shine and to sparkle and for women to lose their mind, it has to go through the fire. It has to go through the challenges and the obstacles, and it has to be burned, it has to be crushed, it has to be shaped into a certain way. Because challenges bring out the best in us. Some will say, oh yeah. Stay focused, Josh. I just keep going. I'm getting inspired now. Y'all done got bonus after bonus after bonus after bonus after bonus. But it's good. Say, oh yeah. Fourth question you got to ask yourself. Here we go. I'm close. I'm on my way out of here. Last point is, do you have courageous faith? Say courageous faith. This is very vital. This is very important, because courageous faith says this. Courageous faith is when you understand as a man or a woman or a leader that you are willing to act on what you believe, regardless of the fear, the challenge, the negative circumstance, or the uncertainty that stands between you or your vision or your dream. When I am walking in courageous faith, I'm making the decision that I'm going to act, I'm going to move, I'm going to pursue, regardless of the challenges, the obstacles, or watch this, the uncertainty that stands between me and my legacy, my vision, or my dream. Now, the reason why this is important, because number one, you will never establish a legacy unless you have courageous faith. I'll say it again. You'll never establish a legacy unless you have courageous faith. You say, how do you know that? Well, because when you think about Steve Jobs, when you think about Nelson Mandela, when you think about all these wonderful leaders that have, Mother Teresa, that have created things and organizations and legacies that have went beyond their lifetime, at some point they had to have the courage to believe and the faith, watch this, to act on what they believed, regardless of the challenge, the obstacle, or the negative situation that stood between them and their dream or their legacy. That's why Robert Kennedy says this. My time is almost up. It is from numberless diverse acts of courage and belief, courage and faith, that human history is shaped. Each time a man stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lives of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. Say hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy, and daring those ripples build a current that can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. This is what he's saying. I'm going to give you this concept. His concept is this, that anytime a man or a woman decides to act or to be courageous and to act in faith in something they believe, although there may not be help when they begin, as they start moving, help will begin to appear. Okay, here comes another one. There will be times in your life where you may have a legacy, you may have a dream, or you may have a vision, and it may seem like you don't have no support. It may seem like there's no one there to help you. It may seem like there's no one there to listen to you. You may feel very isolated, and sometimes people can give up on their dream or their legacy because of a lack of support. If you get here, that does not mean for you to give up, because sometimes the support, the resource, and the help does not come until the man or the woman starts doing what's on the inside of him. So the moment you start acting on your dream, the moment you start acting on your vision, the moment you start creating your legacy, the moment you start moving forward, the moment you start progressing and trying to make history and do things that have never been done before, is the moment that resources come, opportunities come, help comes. Things you never would have imagined start to appear once you make the decision, I got a legacy to create. I got a vision beyond myself. I have purpose. I ain't got no help. Does not matter. I'm moving forward. stuff starts appearing. You say, Joshua, how do you know this? Because I lived it. Circle of Change Leadership Conference. 3 years ago, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and I had a vision. I wanted to create a national career leadership conference because I didn't see enough of them across the country. There was leadership conferences, there were diversity conferences, there were career conferences, there were all these wonderful conferences, but the reality is there wasn't a conference that prepares students for career leadership success. And if you look at the statistic and you look at what companies are looking for, most companies are not just looking for skill sets, they're looking for leadership. There was a study in the National Association of College Employers just last year, and approximately 80% of employers said one of the things they look for in a resume is leadership experience. There was an article in Business Week in 2009, and it said the top companies to launch your career. 50% of the top companies to launch your career all said they're looking for leadership, which means if you're going to have career success, you got to have leadership development, you got to have leadership skills. And I felt there weren't enough programs that were preparing students for career leadership success. The vision begins to be created. At the time, I didn't have no help. At the time, I didn't have no resources. At the time, I had about a $20,000 to $30,000 budget, but I had a vision. Say a vision. I had a purpose, and I knew who I was, and I knew I could get it done, and I sure had the courageous faith to pursue it. So I'm on this journey to create this leadership conference. And I call colleges, and I'm dealing with rejection, and I'm dealing with fear, and I'm dealing with doubt, and I'm dealing with uncertainty, and I'm dealing with lack of finances. Someone say, oh, yes. I didn't have no mucho dinero. I had no money. But I was crazy to believe. And so November 1st comes around, and I only have 7 students registered at $100 a person. So I only have $700. I have a $25,000 budget already. Just imagine that in your mind. Had about $5,000 saved up, so we'll say about $6,000. I'm $21,000 in debt. I only got 7 people registered for my conference. I got people starting to come together. I'm in some serious trouble. And a woman gets on the phone and she says, hey, Josh, yes, I think you should postpone it. And it hurt, and it hurt, and it hurt, and it hurt again, and it hurt. And I said, nope, not postponing it. I'm either going to live or die with my faith. Someone say faith. You're going to live or die with my faith, so here we go. I put every principle into place. I thought positive. I spoke positive. I prayed. I fasted. I worked hard, real hard. I was diligent. I did everything that I knew to do that could cause something to change in my situation. In a matter of 2 weeks, our numbers went from 7 to 80 people. I said, yes, I'm building $8,000. Conferences running. We're going to have people in the seats. At least it ain't going to be empty. If I got to lose my money, we're going to have some people there. Foundation. But I was still worried because I still had a debt. I still had people to pay. I still had to at least get to about 100, 125, and I'd have been okay. I said, this first year, let's establish a foundation. So I'm still worrying, and Thanksgiving is coming up, and I don't, have 80 people. I'm saying I'm in trouble because I know students are going to be thinking about Thanksgiving, and there's turkey, and there's mashed potatoes, and there's yams, and there's collard greens, and there's gravy, and there's biscuits, and there's football. All this stuff is going on. Ain't no one thinking about no conference, ain't thinking about school, and I know y'all get mad when they give you finals and all that kind of. I don't want to think about that on Thanksgiving. Going home. So I'm like, yeah, I understand. But I said, I got to believe. I'm in Miami, Florida, coming back home. And I'm really agitated. I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to work this out. But I'm believing, thinking positive. Your bills will come. I don't think about the bills. Positive thinking. I started giving thanks. Oh, by the way, here comes another universal law. The power of appreciation. When you're grateful for what you do have, you'll get more. When you appreciate people for what they do, more people will help you out. Just want to give you a universal pause. So I started working this, the power of appreciation and gratitude. I started being excited. I said, I'm happy. Life is good. Life is awesome. I don't feel it, but I'm just going to say it. Monday. Someone say Monday. I'm on the beach walking, and I just feel good. I don't know why I feel good. Felt something good was happening in my life. I get home on the computer. I look on the computer. I've never filed for a grant ever in my life. And the way I filed for this grant is I met this guy at a conference, and we were supposed to eat breakfast. We didn't talk for 3 months. One day I was on the beach. Something told me to go to the breakfast shop. I go to the breakfast shop, and we walk at the same time. We end up having breakfast. Never talked, never spoke after the time we met. We just ended up at the same place, same time. I tell him about the conference. He tells me about a grant. The grant is due that day at 5 p.m. I send in the grant, think nothing about the grant. 2 weeks before my conference, I get an email. You've just been approved for $10,000. $10,000. Never did a grant in my life. But somewhere, somehow, when I was believing and walking by faith, things were working in my favor. I get excited trying to think, this is some serious stuff for me. And when I get the $10,000, I'm able to give out more scholarships. So our numbers go from 80 to about 150 students. All the bills are paid. Everything's taken care of. I'm debt-free. By the time we get out, students are impacted. Students are inspired. I now have a leadership team, and the conference is set for legacy. What are you saying, Josh? Because it gets better. Oh, it gets better. Because now we're going into our 4th year this year, and the conference is November 1st to the 3rd, and this year we are giving out 200 free scholarships. We've never had a financial challenge ever since that first year. Somehow, some way, money has always come. And students have been impacting, and the conference is getting bigger, and it's getting bigger, and it's getting bigger, and we're getting ready to expand into Florida, and we're getting ready to expand into Washington. Watch it. But on November 7th, 2010, I only had 7 people. And there was a legacy that was in front of me. And I had to make the decision in the midst of fear, uncertainty, rejection, failure, and challenge that I was going to act on what I believed, although I was not sure how it was going to happen. And so today, the legacy continues. The legacy is manifested. The legacy is happening because I understood, number one, you got to know who you are. Number 2, you got to have a vision bigger than yourself. Number 3, you got to have a reason why you're doing what you're doing. You got to lead with purpose. But then number 4, and probably the biggest challenge, is you got to act on what you believe. Someone say, oh, yeah. And so when you do all that, you begin to create legacy. Someone say legacy. Getting ready to close out, wind down, and finish out this presentation. A couple of things. Number 1, each of you has a feedback form. On the feedback form, I ask you a series of questions. If you can fill that out in its entirety and make sure I get it before you get out, I would highly appreciate it. Number 2, I know as college students, money can sometimes be challenging, but I do have to let you know I do have books and CDs available. If you are encouraged to purchase a book or a CD, I have them available. One of my books is called 50 Questions Before You Say I Do. You should have me back to talk about relationships. That's a whole nother dynamic. And I may save some of you guys from bad relationships. That's a real powerful program. But I have a book on it, and it's to help you to create a healthy and to find the right person. So maybe you don't have them now. Maybe you're not looking for 4 years. But it's good to know some questions to ask in order to find the right person and establish a healthy relationship that is built to last a lifetime. Someone say, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah. The last thing I want to leave you with, I'll leave you with my closing story, final remarks. Closing remarks. Watch this. I was having this thought as I get ready to close. And today is 9/11. Many of you know about 9/11, correct? You know 9/11. We celebrate 9/11. I don't have time to go into it, but to me, 9/11 is not just a heartbreaking situation that we all can remember where we were, but to me, it's actually a significant point in the course of our nation. If I had time, I would go down that road with you and I'd explain to you, and I could show you current events from 2001 up to now and how it's shaping what our nation is going to become in the future. But aside from that, if you go back 100 years, within a 100-year span, you'll find there's been 4 different generations. There's been the silent generation, there's been the progressive era generation, the silent generation, baby boomers, Generation X, and then your generation, the millennial generation. And if you were to go from these different generations, you'll find within each generation there has always been a group of leaders that have not only stepped up and established legacy, but they've made history and they created stuff that had never been done before. And just like the generations of the past, we're now in a moment where we can do what generations of the past have done. And that's make history, that's progress, that's bring solutions and do things that have never been done before. And so if you're going to establish your legacy, if you're going to develop your solution, if you're going to make this world better than it's ever been before, not only do you have to start thinking like that just like the Dr. Kings, the Susan B. Anthonys, and the Mother Teresas, you're just like them, but just like them of the past. If you can, music, if you discover who you are, if you create a vision bigger than yourself, if you're leading with purpose, and you have courageous faith, you can do the same thing that generations of the past did. You can create things that have never been created before. You can make history. You can break glass ceilings. You can break barriers. You can literally change the course of a nation for the next 50, 100, and 200 plus years. You can do that. I want to say it. You can do that. But number one, you got to see it. You got to believe it. You got to know it. You got to just believe it can be done. And once you start moving towards it, and once you start doing it, everything you need to do to make that a reality, I promise you, I'm a living witness of it, it will begin to transpire. And it will continue to transpire. It will continue and continue and continue and continue to grow. But I got to know who I am. I got to have vision. I got to lead with purpose. And I got to have what? Courageous what? Huh? You got to have courageous faith. Thank you guys so much. It was an honor, a pleasure.